is going to be the most valuable Aetherdrift cards you can pull at pre-release, I believe is what we decided to go with. So, and this is by Sigmund Osselfresser. Sorry, butcher your last name there, Sigmund. And this right here is just going to go through some of, in their opinion, in Sigmund's opinion, the most valuable, cards that get a pre-release. So let's start here with these two, right?
Yeah, so the two highlights of this set are both in colorless, unfortunately. There's not really a lot of hot shot cards that are printed in the set, mainly because Wizards kind of hates us. So for this specific set, the two headliners, if you would call it, is the Aether Spark and the Radiant Lotus. So if you pull a Radiant Lotus in your pre-release kit, good luck to your opponents. Unfortunately, it is the most busted card in the set. The card also adds so much mana that you may be able to cast your whole hand in a turn, and just sacrifice your negligent artifacts that pretty much don't do anything. Ooh,
Gotcha.
where did I go?
Oop, you should be still there. Are you there? I still see it. You're still on.
I think I lost the link here. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. We had to reconnect to the browser really quick, so that might have done it for you. So just take your time. Yeah, we will just go from there. But yeah, I still got you there. So let me know when you reconnect.
Okay, so I'm good now.
Okay.
So the Radiant Lotus is 6 mana. Tap, sacrifice one or more artifacts. You could sack more than one artifact. Most busted thing ever. And for each artifact, you choose a color and add 3 mana of the chosen color. So that's also really busted. You could sacrifice 9, 10 artifacts and get 30 mana.
Gotcha.
So it's a really decent finisher in Commander. Mainly because there's X cards like dang, I probably should have thought about this before saying it.
No, there's other valuable ones. Take your time. You're good. We popped this episode on really quick, so you're good. You are in agreement with these first two though. These headliners, right?
Yeah. So like your Fireball or stuff like that. Your Torment of Hellfire. Torment of Hellfire was what I was thinking of.
Gotcha.
If you run a mono black artifacts deck, I think his name is Armax. If you run Armax with a mono black deck, you can run the Radiant Lotus, sacrifice all your artifacts to the Radiant Lotus, and cast Torment of Hellfire for 35.
Gotcha.
And what Torment of Hellfire says is for 35 times, you either have to sacrifice a non-land permanent or lose 3 life. So that is the first thing that popped into my head when I saw the Radiant Lotus was like, I could do a lot of damage with this card.
Gotcha. Something you got a little bit of spark in you now for this this Aetherdrift here. So it's the most excitement I've heard from you. So this Radiant Lotus seems to be a winner here. So let's go down to the creatures that they've got. Some mythic rare creatures, and we've got right here
Ketramos, the New Dawn.
Gotcha.
So they have officially reprinted all of the gods, which is like the best thing that they've ever done.
A little bit blasphemous, but is what it is.
Well, it makes me excited.
Yeah.
So like the minimal things that come out of this set excites me because the set is so garbage.
Yeah.
So like all the gods that have ever been reprinted, Hazoret, Bantu, all those gods are coming back. This is actually a new god, I believe. It has a 4/4 with Menace, Lifelink, and Indestructible. It can't attack or block unless you have 7 or more cards in exile. And whenever one or more cards are put into exile from the graveyard and or the battlefield during your turn, you draw a card and you lose a life. So again, this is a commander that pretty much does whatever you want.
Mhm.
Like if you run cards like anything that exiles your graveyard, exiles opponents' graveyards, anything like that, it just gives you additional value. And you get the ability even if you can't attack or block with it. So you're just continuously drawing cards, and it's one of my 2 or 3 favorite cards in this set.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's saying that it's got some relevance throughout the whole game, and definitely it says it could even be a game ender. So
Yes.
it's got to be good. So what do we think here? Moving on to, it's hard for me to read. Hold on.
It's
What is that? Bright
it's
Glass
Bright Glass Gearhulk.
Gearhulk. Yep.
I think the mana value of this card is too steep. I would probably want to see this card at colorless green white white instead of green green white white. But for this specific card, it's utility.
Yeah.
So you could probably play this somewhere in CDH or regular commander, but it only really searches for your low mana stuff, like your Esper Sentinels, your Soul Rings, um, your Mana Crypts, all that kind of stuff. Well, Mana Crypt is banned, sorry. So like your Mana Vaults or something like that.
Gotcha. So it's saying it's currently pre-selling $10 to $12.
I could see that probably staying the same.
Okay.
Even mainly because it is the full art print instead of the border, or this is the borderless print. Sorry.
Yep.
So there's
Borderless
reasons
graffiti
to,
giant art. Yeah, it is a nice looking card. Yeah.
yeah.
So $9 to $12. Let's see. Then we got, sorry, there's just a
Excuse
coloring on
me.
this. Sab, no, you're fine. Sab, Sun and Luxa embodied.
Yeah. So this is also a
Sa,
new god.
Sa Sun, and sorry.
For
No,
those of
Sab.
you that are fan of frogs,
There you go.
you
Frog
finally
people.
got a god. You finally did it. You got a god. So so
Congratulations.
it's 3 green blue for a 6/6 with reach, trample, and indestructible. Can't attack or block unless you have an even number of counters on it. So weirdest thing ever. But there's cards in this set. Well, all the gods have a reason to attack or block with this certain ability.
Gotcha.
So with this one, it's kind of strange because at the beginning of your first main phase, you put a counter on it.
Mhm.
And if you have an odd amount of counters on it, you draw 2 cards. So this is not only utility in attacking, this is probably the best attacker I've ever seen printed in a standard set. Uh, Not only that, it's also a powerful draw effect. So every turn that it's not attacking, you're drawing 2 cards, which is insane to me.
That's how these
Um,
frogs roll, man.
yeah, so I recommend this card to probably anybody that plays green and blue. Not for CDH though, but anybody that's like playing any green variety of green and blue
Mhm.
that isn't in competitive, you could probably play this card and get away with it.
Gotcha. And it's pre-selling within the $10 range. So
Yeah, and it's a pretty good one. I see it probably going up.
gotcha. Frogs on the rise. You heard it first. The enemy verge cycle. We're gonna be looking at these cards right down here. So it's giving me. I don't think I can go any further. So we have Bleachbone Verge, and then River Pyre Verge, and then Sun Billow Verge. So tell me about. I'm confused about these. What are these? Sorry.
Okay, so these are your dual lands.
Okay.
So each set comes with a pair of or a 5 dual lands, and um, they come in enemy and allied form. So your
Okay.
enemy colors is what you see on the screen right now,
Mhm.
and your allied forms are the other two color pairs.
Okay.
So your blue and white, or your red and green, and all that kind of stuff, those are the allied colors. But for these specifically, these I think are reprints of other cards, but have different names. So these cards have already been in standard before. And it's actually kind of awkward how they work, because um you have to have activate if you control a plains or a swamp. Okay, so never mind. They kind of act as like a check land, but in like a weird shape or form.
Gotcha.
And they immediately come in untapped, so that's also good. These are probably going to be the most played in Commander,
I didn't
probably.
I didn't need the formats.
Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, yeah, I'm a little bit confused on the lands, but I think you've, cleared it up for me there. Yeah, I didn't, for some reason, I can't get any closer in on these lands. They're not letting me not letting me get a look at this real estate, man. Let me take a look at the real estate. So, let's see. We've got some honorable mentions. We've got March of the World Ooze. So, what is this all about? Tell me about it.
Okay. So I don't personally like this card. Um it's it's almost pretty much useless, but it's 6 mana and it makes every creature on the board, or on your board, a 6/6 ooze in addition to their other types. So like you make your smaller stuff bigger, kind of buff them up to a 6/6, and then hopefully force your opponent to die while attacking. Um Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if it's not their turn, create a 3/3 elephant. So this is basically your counter to your weird, very weird counter to like blue players. So
Gotcha.
like the blue and white players that cast stuff on other people's turns, this is like a weird counter to it.
And what do you mean by weird? It's just unorthodox?
Uh well, there's cards that say your creatures can't be countered. There's also creatures that say your creatures have hexproof and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
This is just giving you value if they're casting stuff on your turn.
Gotcha.
And it's it's not a lot of value per se, but it gives enough value so that you could probably compete with them in some sort of way. Um I actually think this card is the weirdest thing that I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, interesting. There we go.
Um
Let's give it an award. I'll put up a graphic in the edit. We will do a graphic, social graphic for that. Congratulations, March of the World Ooze. So yeah, it's $7 to $8 for its pre-selling range, and they're saying they can immediately see it hitting sideboards against those pesky decks that play 4 copies of Hopeless Nightmare. What does it mean sideboards?
so sideboard is 60 card deck related. It's not related to Commander in any way, shape, or form.
Gotcha.
But every 60 card deck, you could build a sideboard, a 15 card sideboard. And each one of those, uh, each match is a best of 3. So after the first match, you could sideboard in cards from your sideboard,
Gotcha.
so
Gotcha.
to help you against certain decks.
Gotcha. So, moving on here with our honorable mentions, we have Monument to Endurance, an artifact. Tell us about it.
I actually like this card,
Gotcha. I like the art.
which
Looks
is
like Dune,
surprising because
the
I
Dune
didn't
vibe.
see this card at all in the previews.
Hmm.
But when you discard a card, it doesn't matter which way you discard a card. Uh, it could be discard a card for value, and then you get additional value,
Hmm.
or an opponent plays a card that forces you to discard a card. You get a value off of that. This card specifically, I think, is built for cycling. So
Gotcha.
if you're building a deck with cycling in it, this card is really good because you could discard a card for the cycle cost, you draw off the cycle, and then if you wanted to, you could also draw off the monument. So it's just additional card draw,
Gotcha.
basically.
I
I
like
don't
that.
I don't think I don't think you'll ever look at somebody and say they're gonna create a treasure. I
Mhm.
think this could also be used as a win condition. So like where it says each opponent loses 3 life. For cycling decks, they could cycle for free. So they just keep cycling and dealing 3 damage to you. So if they cycle 10 times, they're dealing 30 damage to you.
Oh yeah, I've out of the few games I've watched to completion. I've seen somewhat of that happening. I've seen somebody do the cycle so that you know there's it infinitely cycles, and that's how they won the game actually.
Yeah.
Another recent one. So I like the art really quick here. It's like a brutalist feel architecture. It reminds me of Dune. I'm a big fan of Dune. So these buildings remind me of like Dune and the brutalist kind of like a sci-fi trope for the architecture and all that. So very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
Let's see, and then do they got anything at the end? So let's just read it. The list goes on, but gives you a feel for the most noteworthy and valuable cards open from Aetherdrift booster packs in the coming weeks. I don't know about you, but I'm excited for a new set to draft. Even if Aetherdrift flavor isn't exactly for me, the author says Sigmund. Remember, as long as gameplay is fun, I'll be happy. Don't forget, you are the type to crack open collector boosters. You have more value to unlock with most modern day sets. There are plenty of special printing, factured foil versions of cards upward 200. So that's just their final thoughts on it. Thank you, Sigmund, for your article. Do you agree with these values? Do you think he's highlighted the right ones here? What's your overall take on the most valuable Aetherdrift cards that you can pull at pre-release from good old Sigmund here, who seems like a good guy, by the way? I like you, Sigmund. I'm gonna follow you on
So
X.
yeah, specifically if you get the Radiant Lotus or any of the gods, you're pretty much quote unquote winning the tournament
Hmm.
if nobody has an answer for them. And the only form of answer you could possibly get is probably exile, which looking at the set, I don't think there's a lot of, unless I completely missed it. But the gods with indestructible, they give you plenty of value, so you could probably win every game against your opponents in a pre-release.
Awesome, awesome. So we'll start wrapping it up here. So